Welcome back, guys. SpeakuP Monday here at Tropical Nomad. Every Monday at 6:30 GMT plus 8. Today I have a really special guest. I've been looking forward to catching up with this brother for some time. Brother String, welcome to the show, my brother.
Thank you, brother.
Oh, man, looking forward.
I'm excited about this because we talked a while ago. And it's just, thanks for having me.
Super welcome, brother. So now, for those of you who don't know, we at SpeakuP Monday have recently been awarded. So we are now an award winning for motivation deep dive Q&A, which is incredible news. We started this 2.5 years ago, haven't missed a week, and the whole point is a deep dive that helps to unlock the wisdom that all of us have within us as well. And tonight we're here in Bali, right? So Bali is an incredible place where lots of us come to heal and some of us come to escape. But really I think we're all driven by being healed, and the story that you're going to hear tonight from my brother here is an amazing story. So for those of you who don't know String, and I put my hand up because I don't really know String either, what I do know is what I feel, right? And from the moment that I saw you bring an aura and an energy and a vibe with you that is very unique. And I know that you're a man who walks in his own steps. Definitely. Which sounds weird, but you get what I'm saying, right?
Yes,
you're a man who walks your own journey, your own path. That's what I get. And tonight we're going to dive deep down into what makes you you, the incredible stories which are from the US to Bali. So if you're a person who's looking, to heal themselves, if you're a person who's looking to find out some of the joys that you have within you but haven't even tapped them yet, tonight you're going to find a guy who has. You're going to find out how and probably why. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. So Brother String, for people who don't know you, right? You're a SoulCycle legend. We'll get into that. You're a transformational, what I call a transformational healer, actually. Even though you don't call yourself that, to me you're a transformational healer. You're a guide. You're a person who is able to bring large communities and small communities together around things that inspire and motivate us. And this week is all about how to create community from the concept or from the understanding of what drives us, our why. So my first question to you would be, why is it that you're in Bali right now? What did you come for?
Well, I mean, the initial reason why I came here was to go through yoga teacher training. That was the plan. The plan was to just come here for a couple months. So I had been in Dubai for about 1.5 years, and I was feeling burnt out. I was teaching at SoulCycle, and then I ended up in China for 1.5 years. But SoulCycle was 7 years, and then I'm in China, and then I'm in Dubai, and I felt like, okay, I'm really feeling like I'm depleted. Like I didn't want to teach anymore. And in Dubai, it gets really hot in the summertime, as you know. So people leave for the whole entire summer. And this girl who was taking my class, she was gone for the whole entire summer. I was like, where you been? She came back looking fresh, just fresh, moisturized, everything, just fresh and happy. And I was like, girl, where you been? Where you been? She goes, String, I've been in Bali. She goes, you need to go. I said, you know what? Sign me up. I'm going. This is exactly what I needed. So, I signed up for this YTT at Radiantly Alive, and I did that. And then I was going to stay for the Bali Spirit Festival. And then the pandemic happened, and I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to stay here. I'm just going to sit here.
Like a lot of us here, right, in Bali, know a little bit about burnout, right? And I wouldn't say that probably some people here in the audience have gone through the same thing. And so, but how did you get burnt out? Because, this is part and parcel of your journey. So take us back to, I guess, the first reference point that comes in when I say burnout.
Okay. So, I mean, as a SoulCycle instructor, you really...
SoulCycle, take us back, brother. What's SoulCycle? Because I know what it is, but these guys don't. Yeah.
SoulCycle is New York City's first premier indoor cycling studio. And these two women came together, and they took boutique fitness to a different level, right? So there was nothing like it back in 2006 when they started. I came on board in 2010, but no one was doing what they were doing, right? They built a community community first, and they set the bar way up here. As an instructor, you had to be up here, right? People were writing about you. Once you became a SoulCycle instructor, you were everything, right? You were the DJ, you were this, you were that. There was writers about your classes and stuff. So you had to be up here and all the time. So 7 years with the company, I never really took time out to do me. I never really traveled. I never took vacations. I never took, if it was, I always felt like I had to give to the people who took my classes, right? They came first. And so I realized almost 7 years in, and I turned 44 on my 44th birthday. I went to Trinidad and I was like, I'm just tired and I'm not really enjoying my life and I'm not traveling. And I had a passport. My passport was from 2006 to 2016. And I'm in the airport and I'm like, look at this passport. There's nothing in there. There's like 2 stamps. One in Mexico, one in Trinidad. I'm like, this something's got to change. And I'm in the flight, I'm in the plane, and I'm like, God, what? Just tell me what you want me to do. Do I stay with SoulCycle? Do I stay in New York City? Give me a sign. And it was soon after that when I landed in New York, this is August of 2016, then it was, months after that, String, we got to talk to you about your performance at SoulCycle. We got to talk to you about these different things. Now, the 2 founders had left the company. They had left. So, and then SoulCycle went corporate. So I remember telling my play sister, Tay, I was like, listen, I said, it's about to change now. The whole game is about to change. We're getting paid too much to be a SoulCycle instructor. We're getting paid too much. So once it goes corporate, I said, they're going to start chopping us because the brand had built too many studios. They were building studios. There was a SoulCycle on every corner in New York City. It made no sense. You know what I mean? So I get a call and it was like, String, we got to come in. You got to come in. We got to talk about your class numbers and your performance. We just feel like you're not in it no more. We just feel like you're not here no more. You're not present. Your numbers are going down. And I was like, okay, where's this coming from? Where's this coming from? Didn't get my last evaluation. And it was just months and months leading up to them basically forcing me out of the company, which I saw it coming in the first place. But I ended up just resigning. I said, okay, well, I'm done. I'll just leave.
So here you've got, right now, you helped to build SoulCycle, as we were talking before. You weren't just an instructor. You were a guy who helped to bring that culture. And that was a pre-runner to spin classes all over the world.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's a huge company and it's a huge deal, right? I know you're underselling it, but that's okay. I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
So basically, so now you're in a place where you're like, God, like I've got 2 stamps in my passport for like 10 years. Like it's like, give me a sign, show me something. Mm-hmm. And the sign shows up of you getting fired or you getting pushed out, right? Yeah. So what happened next?
So then I was already talking. So I was in culinary school at the time too, and basically they were like they were forcing me out, and I said, okay, well, at the same time there was this company in China that was looking for expat instructors to come teach in China. They were starting their own version of SoulCycle. Now everybody has their own version. Mexico, Spain, everybody has their own version. So I get a message on LinkedIn from this guy named Bruce, and he's like, String, he goes, we'd like to have you come to China and teach for our SoulCycle of China. Would you be interested? So this is back in March. I said, well, let me just put this on the back burner. Let me just get in touch with you later, and then we'll have a conversation. So then we go back to the stuff with SoulCycle, and then I just reached out to him. I said, listen, is that opportunity still available? Because I think I might have to leave New York. Because when you sign a contract, you sign a contract as a non-compete contract. You can't teach fitness for like 2 years. You have to leave. So I couldn't teach any fitness in New York. I had to leave. I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to go back to Vegas, where I'm from. I'm not going to go back to LA. I guess I'll go to China. So I end up in China, and that was different.
Culture shock.
Culture shock. I mean, I was
one of the first black people in China.
No black people. I didn't see black people for like a whole 5 months. So I ended up leaving Christmas, the day after Christmas was my last day with SoulCycle. And January 1st, 2017, I'm in China, right? I had no idea what China was going to even be like. I just get there. I just show up. Bruce picks me up at the airport, and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of Chinese people here. right? I had never seen so many Chinese people. You know what I mean? And I'm like, what? Is this karma or what? I didn't know what was going on. Like, so it's wintertime, and I'm like, okay, it snows in China. Like, I had no idea what it was like. I had no idea there was a city in Shanghai. I had no idea. So I get to the apartment where I'm living, and so I'm there I said, I'm going to give it like a month, and I'll go back to the States and see how I like it. And then I said, okay, well, after a month, I completed a month. I said, okay, I'm going to come back for 3 months. During that whole time in winter, I didn't see nobody black. Everybody in my class is Chinese. Everybody everywhere is Chinese. Everybody. So I was like, I don't know about this. And they say a word in China, nigga means that. Right, so I was like trying to get a cab, and all I kept hearing was nigga, 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 nigga. And I was like, Bruce, I don't know about this. I just got here. This country is crazy. Every time I try to catch a cab, they say nigga, 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 nigga. He's like, no string, no string. That nigga means that. I said, okay, well, you gotta tell me this. Please tell me something, because I don't know nothing about this culture. I'm new here, right? I'm new. But I lost my mind the first time I saw a black person. This girl, she was on the street. I'm walking out Shanxi Lu, and I'm walking up the street, and I was like, "You're black too?" She's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Me too." She's like, "Yeah." She goes, "There's a lot of us here. There are a lot of us here." I said, "Well, where are they? Because I don't see nobody." She's like, "We got wing night." I said, "Okay, I'm going. Sign me up." You know, we like chicken, so all the black people was at wing night. Everybody was there. It was the best. But China was different. It was different in a lot of ways. It taught me a lot of lessons. I lived in a lane house, which was all Chinese people. And sometimes you had like the downstairs. So my apartment was remodeled, but I had to go through other people's stuff to get to my apartment. So I had to go through the downstairs people, to their kitchen, to the next apartment, to upstairs, to see that apartment, to see how they lived. They didn't live the best. You have like families of 5 people living in one studio. You know, and it was like, wow, this is really a lot to see. To go through their kitchen and see them with one pot, one cutting board, one knife, and have nothing. This family was living in this upstairs from me. This family was 2 boys. I remember they were probably in their teens, 14 and 16. 2 bunk beds. The mother and father slept in one. The 2 older boys slept in one. And that was it. In their room, they had a cooler, and they had a fan, and they had one TV. But that's all they had in their room. That's it. And the boys have outgrown their shoes, their slippers. They're in shoes from when they were like maybe 7 and 8, maybe, and they're still wearing these. And they're like 16 and 14, still wearing these slippers. But they made it work. Yeah. They made it work.
You know, like what comes up for you, right? You're from the States. You said God should give me a message. God, as I mentioned before, creates a situation where it's like, listen, you're out of a job. You get one guy called Bruce. Sounds like an Australian. I was thinking about Australia and said, Bruce, no, China. Okay,
yeah.
So China, you're going to
China. That wasn't even his real name. He made up his name. He had some Chinese name, but he went with Bruce.
Yeah, that becomes apparent. So you get to China and you have this experience, right, where you realize that there aren't any black people, but there are, but you don't find them. So you're kind of on your own for 5 months, right? And then you're living in a place where you realize that, you know, people don't all live the way that you feel they should live, right? Mm-hmm. The things that you take for granted, you know. So when you saw that, you know, like on the inside of you being a caring, thoughtful, sensitive human being, like what came up for you? Like, was there any reflections, any learnings?
Absolutely. I mean, I realized I had too much. Yeah. I had too much stuff. When I left New York, I had so much stuff, and I gave all my stuff away. But I had too much stuff. Here's this family with nothing, and they were happy that they had just little stuff. You know, you don't need all these, you know, I had 20 pairs of shoes. What was I doing with 20 pairs of shoes? What was I doing with like 20 track jackets? You know, all these different things I had. I realized, okay, this is just stuff. And it just made it easier that the journey that I've gone on in China and Dubai, when I went to Dubai, I gave stuff away. Even when I got here, I had 2 suitcases. And I gave my brother, Wyan, I gave him half that suitcase. You don't need all that stuff.
Yeah. So then when I hear giving away, right? So if you were to draw any kind of parallels between maybe your life here in Bali and your life, you know, Dubai, life in China, giving away, like does anything come up, any stories come up about giving away and the impact that it's had on you?
Yeah, I think it was I think it was letting go, right? Because I had packed stuff that I thought was sentimental, I guess, to me in some way or along the way, and it really wasn't. It was just holding on to stuff, but it felt good to give it to somebody who needed it. Yeah, that's all I can say about that.
And this letting go, right? So we spoke about this, your journey through burnout, right? This is what started this whole journey, right?
I mean,
so it's a burnout thing. So then you've gone around. So tell us about Dubai. So what was happening in Dubai? Can we know a little bit about China?
Okay, so that was different too. They had that saying, same but different. But both of these places were different, just different. So my contract was ending in China, and I knew that the company wasn't growing. There was no growth. Chinese people do things just good enough, and I knew going into this studio that there was no growth. They had no foundation. They had no marketing. They had no branding. Like SoulCycle killed it as far as the game of boutique fitness, but it also had the brand. Like if you didn't take a SoulCycle class, you still want that T-shirt. You still want that silver bag that they gave you. The retail was on point. The marketing was on. You still wanted to be a part of it. So China wasn't doing it. So my contract ends, and I had 3 opportunities. So I had an opportunity in Australia and an opportunity to come back to the States in Houston, and that's where my family's from. And I had another opportunity, but they just weren't ready. They weren't ready. They said this was like the summer of 2018, and all these opportunities weren't ready until the end of the year. So then I had gone to Dubai on a visa run, and when I got back, a friend of mine said, "Yo, this company is looking for cycle instructors. You like Dubai? Maybe you should give it a try." I said, "Okay, we'll check it out." So they get back to me. They said, "Yeah, we're looking for somebody who has that SoulCycle type of style. Would you be willing to come here?" I said, "Absolutely." So I'm in Dubai, and I work for this other startup studio, and that's how I ended up there.
And so tell us about Dubai in terms of, like, in China you noticed black people lack of at first, right? Then you noticed about the work ethic. Okay, you noticed about the things that impact you, because all the time you're finding out about, because you see how we all cope with change isn't the same. There are some people who embrace it, who love it, who enjoy it. It's part of their modus operandi, right? And then there's others who are like, give me normality, give me routine, give me structure, right? So we're finding out now a little bit more about you, that you're a guy who can go with change, right? That's what I'm getting. So with Dubai, let's put it like this. So what did Dubai teach you about you?
That's a good question. What did it teach me? That's a real good question. What did Dubai teach me? It taught me more about patience, because I knew that I wasn't going to be there that long. I knew that I had to be there because the pace was slower. I knew I had to sit down, because going from New York and then going to China, where the population was crazy, like 10 times more. People staring at you all the time because you're black. It's like, okay, Anyway, getting to Dubai, it was great because it was slower, it was more international, but it still taught me. Both of the experiences taught me patience, because I knew that something bigger was happening along this journey. I knew it. I just kept tapping into higher spirit, higher love, God, and I was like, okay, you're taking me somewhere. I'm just gonna go with it. Show up, do my best, like real talk. Like, I'm gonna just show up and do my best and just let you guide me. But a lot of patience, because it was another studio that I was getting into that still didn't have the foundation behind them as far as running a studio. Here it is. I'm in another studio where I have to be the manager. I have to tell them, what is your retail? Where's your foundation? Where's your marketing? Where's all this, that, and the other? Like, what's happening here? I can't do everything. And they were expecting us as instructors to do everything. Post it on Instagram. Post your classes. So then,
like this word foundation, right? It's coming up a bit. So foundation. So what is, if I asked you, right? So what is a foundation of string? Like, what is it that keeps you solid within yourself, because people here, watching here in Bali, all of us have traveled around. That's why we're here in Bali. Yeah. No one that I see is from Bali apart from good day. Hey, my brother, wake up. Sorry, the back, right? You know, so then we're all here from somewhere else. So this foundation is an interesting thing about, you know, what things we like to do, what things appeal to us. I'm giving you time to think of the answer, by the way. You know, so all of these things, you know, come into our foundation. So then what is a foundation of string?
Foundation of string is consistency. Consistency. That's the recipe. I keep it consistent. You know, it's like Tyler Perry says, I pray and maintain. Pray and maintain. Consistency. Routine. You know, I gotta get up in the morning. I gotta make my bed. I gotta, you know, brush my teeth. I gotta put on some good music. It's the same routine all the time, right? To start it's my foundation, consistent, maintained foundation that starts my day.
Got it.
My conversation with higher spirit, you know, it's like all those different things have to happen. They have to happen. If they don't happen, I'm a mess.
Yeah. And then how this conversation with spirit, how do you have it?
Well, he always wakes me up. Spirit always wakes me up, which I love about him, because, you know, yeah, he always wakes me up in the morning. It could be 4:30, 5:30. Most of the time it's 5:30 in the morning. And he's like, come on, get up. Get up. Get up. Let's go. Sometimes I go to the beach and I'm like, okay, it's dark outside. He's like, come on, I got to talk to you. We got to have a conversation, real talk. I said, okay, I'm up. That's it.
Yeah, right. So what would you say then? Because we got this discussion and this dialogue, right, with spirit, with something that's greater than ourselves, that's helping us to guide us and to nurture us and to allow us to be who we are on our walk, on our journey. So then, is there a purpose for string? A purpose for you?
Absolutely. I mean, I realized at a younger age that my purpose was to bring community together. I realized when I was like 11, 12, that I was always the kid that introduced someone to this kid. I was always trying to find the new kid at lunch table who was like by themselves. Come on, why are you sitting by yourself? Come sit at our table. Why are you sitting you know what I mean? I was always doing that. And I realized it was a gift, right? Also, the comedian stuff, the comedy stuff happened when I was a kid too, but it was just very important for me to make sure that everybody was a part of something, especially the new kid in the classroom, because we all been there, right? We all been there where you sitting there by yourself and no one's talking to you. You know what I mean? I'm like, listen, I can get you what you want, some pizza. I used to work in the cafeteria. I'd be like, come here, I got you. I know you ain't got no money. I'm gonna give you some fries and pizza. Don't tell nobody, but I'm gonna hook you. I actually got fired from that job because I was hooking everybody who had no money, because people had no money in junior high. They had no lunch money. I was one of those kids, but I got hired and my line was long because I had people getting free lunch, and they were like, "We gotta let you go." I was like, "Why?" I was just giving everybody food, you know, like. I wish cash register was empty.
I wish I would have met you when I was growing up, man. But where did this come from, Brother String? Because I don't want to guide you too much with this question, but it's a bit like this, did people just pop out the womb? Not quite like that. But anyway, I have 2 kids, so I know they don't just pop out, by the way. But literally pop out like that as a person who wants to guide and help and support others. Mm-hmm. Or, what was going on in your life? 'Cause I know there was some stuff with your sister, with your mum. So what led you to being, do you think, that led you to being that kind of person? Before you answer the question, it's because people here are probably watching and can relate in part to your story, or just like me having a good laugh, right? Because I'm loving it, it's cracking me up. But it's really nice, when when we look at other people's stories and when we feel other people's stories, and then we feel this little tap on the shoulder for us, and it's like, oh, that's right, I used to do that, I've stopped doing it, maybe I should go back to doing it again. Or it's like, I think that I could give more as a person. I think I'm being too selfish right now. Or it could be something like, I think I could contribute more to society in what I'm doing every day, as opposed to me right now. I'm on a solitary journey to try and make it, whatever it might be. So the question, in a way, is inspired by that. So in case you've forgotten the question, it is like why do you think, like you had had that worldview at such a young age, and was it anything to do with how you grew up, or your parents, or your sister, or anything else, do you think?
Well, I mean, I know that, okay, so first of all, string came from my grandfather. My grandfather was legend in his time. He was the first black policeman in his time. I mean, there's pictures of my grandfather with Martin Luther King, with George Foreman. And so my mother unfortunately kept us away from my grandparents growing up. But we always had conversation. It was probably in my 20s when String and I, we started having conversations, and, he was getting me to a place of, he didn't want me to hate my father. And I was like, Papa, I don't hate my father. I don't really know him that well. But he passed away when I was about 27. And me and my grandmother sat down and we just talked about things. We just had conversation about real talk about, what was Papa, what was he like, what was his thing? Because here I am, I had seen him when I was 3, and then I see him in a casket, and then I hear all these stories about him building Commmuity. He was never at the house. Your grandfather never stayed in the house. He had 2 strokes and he never stayed in the house. He still went out dipping and doing, and he was still doing. And I was like, okay, 2 strokes. He's supposed to stay home. He didn't listen. String did not care. He was supposed to be exercising. He's still going out eating his collard greens, pig feet, and doing what he's doing. And Grandma was like, I couldn't control that because he was such a people person that he had to be out in the community. Here's somebody who just that was his thing. He has his police station and all these things that he did, and the stories that she told, I was like, okay, that sounds like me. That really sounds like me. Not only do I sound like him as I get older, but my eyes look like him, and he's always with me. I could be on the scooter. Going down that messed up ass, fucked up ass shortcut, and he's like, I got you. Just hold on. Focus, boy, focus. I hear him all the time. He's just there. And so that's where I get it from. And then he passed away. I took his nickname. I was like, okay, well, he even had his own song, String's Gonna Get You. He was like the gangster, American gangster of his time.
I love that.
Yeah. So I'm happy to be carrying on his legacy, because he, at a later age, he and his brother, my uncle, started to travel. Like, they started to travel with each other, and then he passed away. So I always feel like, okay, I got this, Pop. I said, look at me. I'm at Bali now. He's like, yeah, I see you. So. What I'm hearing, and by the way, I love that story. All those guys, Luther King, Doctor, all of those guys, they're all Jamaican Maroons, and that's all my background, right? So I can relate very closely to that. And because you're a comedian as well, right? And I've watched a little bit of you, and I love what I hear and everything. And I get a sense now of kind of where maybe that's coming from. Mm-hmm. Looking at a little bit about your past and your background and your granddad and String and how you came across that name and the travel around the countries and everything else. And we'll get into the comedian thing in a minute, but the thing that comes up for me is, often, I've got friends who watch me at home, in the UK, London, and they look at me and they think, you have this amazing life, right? They see me, like we won this award, right, for this Yak Award for, being a motivator with SpeakuP Monday, and it's me and my girl on the red carpet, or whichever color carpet it was, with this, all dressed up in a tuxedo, and, it's like, oh, you can look at your life, and then they see me out on like a rice paddy, like this is my commute to work, and everyone who's here, what it's like. You're there, rice paddies going by, and you take a photo. You shouldn't take video, but you do. And you shouldn't, but you do. And you do it, and then you realize in a way how blessed we are, or how blessed I am. But there's other parts to it, right? There's deeper, darker parts that they don't see. They don't see how hard you work. They don't see that, there are months where you're kind of wondering, how am I going to make ends meet this month? They don't see that being at the game, being in the game, being in process. Some months are amazing, being a coach, facilitator, guide, advisor, whatever it is, right? There are times where you're like, shit, I don't know what I'm going to do. You got kids, you got this, you got that. Yeah. So there's all these things that people see, but they don't see, right? So if I ask you, and we're going to social media afterwards, but what is it that the people don't see about you?
and you can go as deep as you want, man. What they don't see about you, because I see you have a great energy. I see you on the street. I see you around. I see you doing the comedy. I see you doing these things. But what are the things that people don't see about you?
That's a good question too. Well, I'm totally disconnected from social media. I have no social media, no Facebook, no Instagram. So you won't see any of me on any type of social platform. But I don't really allow people to see my struggle, because I think that, that's a part of me that I'm going through, and I'm just, want to just be this light. I don't even, if you ask me how I'm doing, I'm not going to go into, oh, this happened to me today. Oh, guess what happened? Like, that's not even me, because I was surrounded by that when I was a kid, by my mother. My mother was very dark, very dark. My mother had mental issues, bipolar, and that experience taught me that I just got to be light. Like, I don't want to be this heavy person, because it was always around me. I got people from high school that were like, yo, you were always in a good mood, because I was just happy to be at school. I was happy to be at that dark ass house. That house was so fucking dark. Like, literally, our house was dark all the time. So I'm just always carrying this light around. But of course, it was first. My email was first, and they got my Facebook and Instagram. They also got my bank account. So whatever money I had left over in my U.S. account was gone, right? But I was just like, okay, it's a gift. Just take it. It was like, whoever took these supplements, they took the money, $3,000 worth of stuff to Herbalife. I was like, okay, well, Herbalife is supplements. Maybe this person was sick. Have it. It's a gift. Because my mother always made money an issue, and that's one thing that I don't do. If I give you money, it's a gift. Here, take it. You want this? Here, take it. And I've always been like that. You don't owe me nothing. Take it.
Thanks for sharing it, brother. Like, was there a defining moment, right? Because again, growing up in a kid's home 18 years, as I did, being the only black kid at school for the first 13 years, all this other stuff. So there were dark moments for me, right? And like in my darkest of moments, which is based on how I looked, because I had a Caucasian set of values that people probably here have heard a story before. But in the darkest of moments, I found a voice, which we all have this voice in our head, this self-talk that's telling us various things. Maybe it's talking to you even now as we speak, right? And mine was always tearing me apart. Like, you're not this enough, you're not good enough, you're not that enough, you're not enough. And at one point, this voice from somewhere else came, and it was just me in a room. And I heard his voice from a supportive, warm place of just saying, hey, man, just look after your skin, look after your skin. And I was like, what the fuck, right? But it wasn't what it said, it was where it was coming from, and the vibe that came with it. And that voice I followed ever since. Mm-hmm. And there's times where I get confused at which voice do I listen to out of the voices which I've got in my head. But then when I'm on track with it, I'm on track with it, right? Mm-hmm. And what helped me to get through the darkest of moments was listening to that one, not the others. So for you, as you mentioned, right, dark at home, mom was dark. My mom as well had bipolar, schizophrenia, all of that, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. But was there a moment or some moments, apart from escaping out the door, that you found something within you that you look back and say, you know what? That was one of those things that I found, or found me, mm-hmm. that has been there always.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, my mother was very dark. I mean, she was funny at times though too. I mean, it was when she wasn't home, it was the best time me and my sister had, because I would kind of take it in a comedy sense. So my mother didn't stop cussing us out from the time she got home. My mother worked 2 jobs, and she was just very real talk, in your face about everything, and the littlest thing would set her off. So when we had that moment of time, me and my sister at home, when she wasn't there, I'd be like, okay, well, I'm just gonna imitate her going off or whatever. I'm do her little walk or whatever, just to give my sister some light, because she was really hard on my sister. My sister got most of the abuse, the physical abuse, and she was older. She was 4 years older than me, but she got most of the verbal abuse and the physical abuse, whereas I got the verbal abuse. And I just wanted to make her happy, because I didn't want her to feel any type of resentment towards me. And there was times where she felt resentment towards me because I was not getting the abuse that she was getting. So that gift of finding humor, comedy, was something that not only that I did for my sister, but I did for friends. My mother put me on, the best thing she did was put me on the swim team. I was the only black kid on the swim team. Ashy as fuck.
Black people don't swim.
They don't, but it was the only thing that I was good at. I wasn't good at anything. I said, cause my father wasn't around. So my mother kept us in the house from the time I was 7 to 11. So I never had any exposure to ball sport, basketball, any of that stuff. We stayed in the house the whole entire time. Come 11 years old, 12, she puts me on the swim team. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go with this. And I was good at it. I was good. And again, it was like, you know, these my friends who were going through stuff, who I thought weren't going through nothing because they had both their parents, nice houses, food, I'm like, what are y'all going through, right? Nothing. And I just found humor. The comedy was just to lift them up was a gift that I had, and so that light was something that always kept me going. You know, you always have one of those things. People are like, what is it that makes you happy? Laughter. Yeah. Laughter keeps me going. If I hear laughter, I'm like, yo, who's laughing? What y'all laughing at? What y'all laughing at? You know what I mean? So even at my darkest time when I was going through my stuff at 21, 23, when I was like, okay, if I heard somebody in the apartment next door laughing at something, I start laughing my ass off because I just loved it. I love laughter. That's my thing.
You know, like, it's so funny because, not funny, it's ironic. For me too, right? Growing up, humor was my way to mask what was happening inside of me, the hurt, the pain, the worry, the everything. And I was bullied and all the rest of that. But it was masking all of that. That was my way. I'm an introverted extrovert, right? So the introvert was the one which was hurting, and the extrovert was the laughter. And the extrovert brought me so many different opportunities, right? And I believe that laughter is one of the master keys for life. Definitely, no doubt about it, right?
Definitely.
So then the comedy that you're doing now, is that where it's coming from?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I'm always, you know, tapping into something that happens. I mean, my comedy is, first of all, it's very real and raw, right? I mean, it's all the things that have happened. I don't make up nothing. Everything is real. I talk about washing your ass. You know, my mother was very big on washing your ass. So I was like, okay, we're going to do a comedy skit on washing your ass. We're going to talk about that, you know, or we're going to talk about, you know, a gay experience that happened to me, you know, or something that happened to me. It's always real talk comedy. People may not be able to relate to it, but that's where it comes from. Real stories.
You know, I think that when we're being real, right, and we've all been there, right? I took a lot of bullshit, have done, probably will do. I don't mean to, but it's part of what happens, right? However, like, when you're real, right, there's a frequency and a tone that it carries.
Absolutely.
And it cuts through anything. Whether you understand it or not doesn't really matter, because it's the frequency, the resonance of that tone that hits people, right? So, which is why I believe, you know, that the comedy that you see when you say real talk, I get it, because it's real. So it's gonna, you crack me up already, right? So if I go and watch you live in person,
and that's the reason why I was different as a SoulCycle teacher too, because I wasn't this. You know, SoulCycle started with the whole. First of all, it catered to the Upper East Side, Upper West Side white woman. That's what it started. That's how it started. But when I came on board, I was like, okay, I'm gonna make it. I see the brand being very diverse. All right. The music is going to be different. My message is going to be different. I'm not going to be like, close your eyes, imagine yourself, da 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 da. No. Turn up the resistance, use your core, get your mind right, get on the beat. What beat are you on? Let's go back. I'll put the track back on. We're going to start over. You know what I mean? But I made it also fun at the same time, but it was real, and people liked that. In the beginning, they were like, String, you got to be nice to people because people, you know, don't want to take your class. But I had the most diverse people take it. I had guys, I had black people, I had everybody taking my class because they wanted that real stuff. They wanted that real talk. String, why am I so fat? You eating everything. Stop eating. You know what I mean? You can't just get, you know, String, I'm not losing weight. Okay, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're not adding resistance. You need resistance. You know what I mean? You can't push the bike. You can't burn calories if you ain't got no resistance. I see what you're doing. You know what I mean? Why are you in the front row? Why are you in the front row? What beat do you want? What beat do you want? Get in the back. You know what I mean? Like, they love that. I had my own lingo. It was crazy because I went like this as a SoulCycle instructor, because I had people who were master instructors who were like, well, you know, I went like this to this. I went over like
people who started when I started, because I changed it. I'm gonna play hip hop music. They weren't playing any R&B hip hop music in the beginning at SoulCycle. It was all this other stuff. I'm like, I don't know what that is. I'm gonna put some Mary J. Blige on. I'm gonna put some Tupac on. I don't know what they're doing, and they loved it. Yeah. And they were messing with me in the beginning. Some of the people who were ahead of me, master instructors, are like, well, String, you shouldn't do that. You can't do that. You can't. Why? Mind your own business. Do your class, right? I was selling out classes to the point to where the co-founder, she was like, whatever you're doing it. I was teaching in Scarsdale to these women who wanted to hear hip-hop because they were bringing their daughters who love hip-hop music. They want to be like their kids, you know what I mean? They want to talk like me. I'm like, what's up, girl? You know, what's up, Miss Thing? They're like, oh, String called me Miss Thing. Okay, you know what I mean? So it just took it to a different level. And it's also, you know, like I said, I had people who were like, String, how come I'm not losing weight? Well, you can't go home and eat the damn refrigerator after a 45-minute class. You got to take more classes, and you got to add resistance. You got to be on point. You're not on point.
You know, like those benchmarks, right? So important, and so often I think that, you know, we kind of go through and we're too yes orientated. We have too many people around us who just agree with what we're doing, you know. And like my partner Marina, she's watching this, she'll laugh already. But like honestly, the times where she's just, I come and do something, whatever, and I think, you know, yeah, you know, I've done good. Not that she's trying to diminish my light, because it's not at all, but she's real, right? So the time where I think I've done something really good, and she's like, Rob, well, look. You know, my eyes call it the Marina test. Like, boom, what do you score? 10 out of 10. Marina test, 7. But it's interesting because I think it's really important. You know, there's a guy, my ex-business partner for 20-something years, that will always be business partners. We had a club, businesses for 20 years. One was voted number 3 in the world. This guy is phenomenal. Antonio Zambarelli di Recco, he's an Italian guy. But he was one of those guys, right? You know, I wouldn't have wanted to be his partner, as in his life partner, but he's a hard man. Like, I see nothing soft in there. He's just hard. Like, he's just hard the whole way. However, you know, what he told came from love, but he told the truth. You know, and it may not have been the truth that you wanted to hear, or the truth that you were comfortable with, but this was a truth that in your heart of hearts, when you step out of the limelight or you step out of the conversation and you have that time by yourself, you get to reflect upon and say, you know what? He has a very good point.
Absolutely.
And I get to see it. So now I actually get to transform something that's actually real into something else, as opposed to deceiving and deluding myself that I'm doing something which I'm not, right? So I get the value of your real talk, man.
Well, it's great. It's great because, you know, it wasn't until recently. It wasn't until, because my mother had been in prison for twice, and when I came here and I sat down, everything happened. I was in Ubud and I was doing my yoga, my meditation, and I would go to the jungle and I found this place to sit down. And it wasn't until last year that I was like, okay, she actually did the best she could in her mind of raising us, because I had trouble dealing with that. Me and my sister we were like, because my mother wasn't loving. My mother wasn't like, give me a hug, I love you, da, da, da. She was very like this, and if it wasn't done right, you do it again, you do it again, you do it again. And I can appreciate that now, because it got me through so many different parts of my journey. Like, you know, I leave Vegas at 27, I go to New York, right? And I go to New York with $350 in my pocket. And that hustle got me through that. That hustle game that she taught us at a young age, right? Then I get to LA, no money again, right? Go back to New York, 5 years. I was in LA for 5 years, and then back to New York again, no money in my pocket, struggling. But it was that real talk that she instilled in us, that got me to like, okay, well, I got to do better. I just got to do better. I just got to keep going. And I got to spend time washing my ass and make sure that I'm on point. And make sure you're on point. That's it. My mother be like, you got to go in there and spend time washing that ass. You come out, she'd be like, look, what? You want me to do it for you? You know what I mean? So it's one of those things. It's not just saying wash your ass. It's like spend time doing it well, right? And be on point. That's it.
Yeah. So, real question. Have you overcome your money wounds, if it is a money wound for you?
Money wounds. Like, what is?
Let me clarify that. So for me, right, 3 times, not once, not twice, but 3 times, I have screwed up royally with money. Like, I've earned a lot, spent more than I earned.
Mm-hmm.
Debts, pay back friends, all of that stuff, break promises, break commitments, all of that I've done. And now this time I'm like, I'm done, enough. So on the outside, successful, do all that. On the inside, it's like, man, like there's stuff going on with you and money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not in alignment with it. Because if you were, then you wouldn't go through it the way that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you were, then you wouldn't have a lack of it when there's abundance of it, actually in reality, right? So if you were, like the stories I was telling myself, and again, I'm not judging, I'm just telling you what happened for me. You know, like rich people are this, rich people are that. You know, whereas at the end of the day, money is part of the fluid of the currency that we live in this world. It's part of it, right? Am I saying that I bow down to like God? No, I don't, but it's part of it. So I have to, you know, get into that free, because, okay, if we understand the abundance of money and abundance of everything is around us right now as we speak, but it's in a different frequency to where we operate. So it's like, for us, it shows up as scarcity, maybe, right? But there's abundance, right? It's about us evolving ourselves to become that frequency in which we attract it and it becomes part of our lives. And we use it wisely, right? And we use it for things which, you know, uplift other people. Like, I see you as like me, I see you as a huge, and many people in this room, by the way, as a person who is here to uplift humanity, brother. You're a light worker. You're a person, you know, who from a very young age, you knew what you were supposed to do. Same with me. Yeah. I knew. I go through incarnations of what that looks like. I go through doubts of what that looks like. But I know at the deepest part of me, I know what I'm supposed to do. I know. But part of that for me, and this is why, for me, like, again, life is about things come up again and again and again until you heal it. But it's there as a way to take the 2.0 version of you. Right? It's not trying to knock you down and tell you that you're shit. It's there saying, hey, you heal this, you get to evolve again and again and again. And the higher you evolve, the bigger platform and the bigger weaponry you have to deliver your message, right? To deliver why you're here, your purpose. And part of that, again, money is a tool, guys, right? So, but part of that, if I have more of that, then I can impact more people. Why? Because I can buy things which allow me to get that message out even more. So when I say money wounds, I'm talking about money wounds in the sense of maybe there's something, because we both grew up with nothing. We both grew up at children's homes. You grew up in your home, which is a different form of children's home, right? So we both grew up like that. And sometimes, you know, when we go up and we realize that we have a certain view about money and what it does and what it's for, and if we have it, if we don't have it, and all the rest of that. And me, I know I can go anywhere in the world, whichever country, doesn't matter, I don't care. And I know I'll find a way to survive. I know. I just know.
Yeah.
But the next thing for me is like, well, no, survival's not enough. I want to be thriving. Thriving for me then means I can impact more people. So part of my focus is now about the frequency of abundance, the frequency of thriving, right? So, coming back to you, my brother. So now when it comes to, I know you're like, bring it back to string.
I gotta go back to it.
Bring it back to string. We're coming back. So again, I look at you in the highest possible light. You know, you're a brother. Even before we had this conversation, I knew there's something special about you. As everyone does here, that's why they showed up and that's why they're watching. So then the question I ask you is out of love, nothing more. And with the desire to see you flourish and grow as I know that you can. And that's part of what SpeakuP Monday is about. It provides a platform for people to see one another. You know, there's 4 or 5 things we all have in common: to be acknowledged, to be of value, right? To be seen, to do something that fulfills us as human beings, regardless of color, race, age, whatever. We want these things. So I want that for you, as I do anyone who's watching, right? So, money wounds. Are there any for you? Do you feel like there's any wounds to heal? Is it something that's important for you? What comes up for you?
Well, I mean, here's the thing with money. Like I said, my mother was very she was bad when it came to money. You know, always borrowing money from people. My mother had 2 jobs. We still didn't understand where the money was going. Lights would get cut off. Sometimes no food in the house. It was like, okay, well, where's the money going? My mother was a pack rat too, so she would take all her money and go buy stuff, just stuff. But for me, I'm such a giver. I'm such a giver. Like I remember when I moved from Harlem, and I got a big raise from SoulCycle, and Julie was like, "What are you doing with your money?" And she goes, "You should be able to buy something by now." And I said, "Well, I'm not really thinking about buying anything." But she was like, "Well, where's your money?" And I was like, "Well, to be honest, I'm spending money on my riders because I felt like SoulCycle wasn't giving enough back for how much they were paying. So I would do these rides, like string. I would have these special events for my classes. I would have strung over for New Year's. I'd have string cleaning for spring. So I would come out of my pocket and get retail made hats, water bottles, T-shirts, so that they felt like they were getting something cool. Because what is it for SoulCycle to say, "Oh, you've done 100 classes, here's 10 on us"? Like, they weren't really doing that. Do you know what I mean? So I felt like, for me, I was like, okay, well, I got to give back to people who have been taking my classes for the last 4 or 5 years or whatever. They got to get something, right? But I've always been that way when it comes to money, because I'm like, it's just money. You know, I know I'm gonna get money at some point, but it's just money. I don't want to have this like, you owe me, whatever. If I got it, here it is, have it, take it. That's probably the biggest problem that I have, is that I just give it away. I'm like, hey, what you want? If I got it, I get it. Here you go. Yeah. Don't worry about it.
You know, it's fascinating because people here in this room have gone through this. I know. I definitely am. So, or going on the latter part of it more than likely after 3 times. Come on, man, learn your lesson. You know, so it's this. You know, it's this value, in a way, I found of self-worth. So here in Bali, you know, what I found, and maybe you guys have found it too, you know, there's people saving the world, but it's an excuse before they save themselves, right? So it's this concept of, there we go, like we've got this coffee cup and saucer, right? So, and many of you know this already. So it's like this, like you pour the tea or the water or the coffee in, and the overflow. So this represents your energy, the liquid. You pour it in, and what happens as it overflows, you give from the saucer, not from the cup. Mm-hmm. So then what's happening is that you're giving from the overflow, right? The excess, the surplus. You're not giving from you. It's like when you're on a plane, you know, in the event of loss of cabin pressure, oxygen masks will fall over the skiing, right? And if you have a child, you put it on yourself first. I have 2 kids, right? So I've got to say, Marina would put it over the kids first. She would, I know, and every woman would, I'm sure. But in general, you put the mask over yourself first, and then you put it over the kids. So this thing about self-worth, and being a coach and a speaker and advisor now, this is something which I've had to get over or let go of. Let's be clear. Let go of is actually the term, not get over. And it's really important because, you know, like, again, you know, like money, and you're absolutely right. You got it, you give it. I get it, you know, but but with it, you can do and impact so many more people. So I just think it's a really valuable thing to let go of and to move to the next level.
You can't take it with you. That's the thing. It's like, if something happens to you tomorrow, like I've always been like, okay, well, people are like, how come you don't save? I'm like, because what if something happens to me? Because I've always been on my own. Like there's, you know, it's pretty much me and my niece. My niece is like my child now because my sister passed away. But I've always been like, okay, if I save it, what does that do if I get into an accident or something? I can't take it with me.
No,
don't
save it, invest it.
Right. You know what I mean? But now I look at it differently. I mean, of course, I'm at that age where I'm going to be, you know, 49 in a couple of months. 49? I'm going to be 49 in 3 months.
Looking good, brother.
I know that cocoa butter.
I like when to give him like a clap or something.
But yeah, I mean, now I see almost approaching 50 that, okay, it's time to invest your money and, you know, do you first instead of just giving to everybody else.
My brother, I love the frequency in which you operate, my man, and the clarity on which you speak, and honesty. You know, so I just want to, at this stage, we're not over yet, but I just want to holler at you and acknowledge you for that, because it's beautiful and it's inspiring, right? Whoever's going to watch this now, and this is the whole point of this thing that we do. It's about, you know, it's not about us. It's like I'm getting to know you, and you're getting to know me, and everyone's getting to know us. But it's what is shared, and what it gives you that tap on the shoulder, what I call a tap on the shoulder, this thing of like, you know, like there's something in here that some people will hear, and it'll be like, oh shit, I've forgotten that, or that's the one thing I should start doing, or that's what I'm missing, right? Whatever it might be. So this is what I love. Now guys, in the studio audience, we're going to come to you in a minute, a few minutes for some questions. So if you have questions, put your hands up, we'll get a microphone to you, and we will, ask your question. But now, one thing I want to ask before we hand over to other people. So we've spoken about color. We've spoken about this. So it would be remiss of me, as I have another brother sitting next to me, right, which doesn't happen every week. You know, so what part did Black Lives Matter play in your life?
That was one of the reasons why I left Vegas when I was 27, 28, because Vegas is still Vegas. It's still it's still the good old boy town that they call it. And I remember growing up, and my mother, of course, would go on these tangents about, you gotta watch these white people, you know, watch these, and there was multiple times that I had been pulled over during the day. Everything's on point. Registration's on point. Insurance, everything in my car's on point, and I'm getting pulled over for no reason. And the last time I remember I was pulled over, and I remember looking in the rearview mirror and seeing the two cops high-five each other like they were just fucking with me. You know what I mean? It was like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm in my hometown. But that was also a wake-up call that was time for me to go. I was done with Vegas anyway. It's like, I'm not growing anymore. And it just exists. And so, of course, anytime any issue happens like that, of course, I always think that could have been me. This is 1996 or whatever. And it's a shame that it's still happening, you know, to the point where I don't even want to go back to the States. I don't even feel safe even going back to the States. I know I got to go through LAX. If I want to go to LA, I'm like, no, we're not even trying to go to LA, you know, anywhere until this issue is somehow taken care of. You know what I mean? It's just, it exists. It's unfortunate.
You know, one of the things which comes up for me in this, and this is why it's probably a good time to talk about it, is that, you know, I realized that I was a bridge from the age of 12, right? So I realized that I was a guy who was capable of bridging, at that time, black and white, right? Because I grew up 13 years believing I was white, which just sounds so strange, but it's the truth. What? It's like, you be blind too.
Wait a minute.
Right? But this is what was going on. And then I failed some exams, I had to retake them. And then I went to this college where it was the other way around, like 99% black, 1%, one of the biggest culture shocks in my life. It was hilarious. But the thing is that I got to really understand both. And I got to understand, you know, like, we're actually not too dissimilar in the sense of, as human beings, those things that we all connect around, right? So this conversation, you know, which I'm happy it's being had, is a really powerful conversation to recognize what I'm all about, I feel that you're all about, and people to watch this is it's about humanity at the end of the day, right? And humanity doesn't recognize color, age, range, all of that. Humanity is humanity, period. And it's, are you a good person? Are you right? That's the bits which resonate with me. So brother man, I'm sure we could go down that rabbit hole, but maybe not today.
To be continued.
To be continued. So one last question, and we get on to everybody else. So out of all of your experiences, right, and this is whatever comes first to you. So what was the most challenging thing, and why? Whatever comes first.
The most challenging thing in my journey. Okay, I would have to say that scooter. That riding the scooter. That was a motherfucker. I mean, Because the first couple of months, because I didn't think I was going to be here this long. I didn't think I was going to be in Bali this long. So they had scooters in China, and there was an accident in China all the time. And so when I got here, my friends were like, "You've been here 4 months, you need to get a scooter." I'm like, "Nah, no. And then I was like, okay, it's time to get a scooter. And thank God I had Ubud for a year, because this is a motherfucker. Canggu, Canggu is like a whole nother level. Because if I came here first, I would be a mess on that damn shortcut, right? So that was the first one, was the scooter, coming here, learning how to drive the scooter. And then these damn toilets with the hose. That was another one, because some of them ain't got no hose, and you gotta aim and sit and do this and that and try to make sure it's it. That's a whole other thing. And then what else is there? I would just say that pretty much the scooter was my biggest challenge. There was other challenges in China. China was difficult because I was disconnected. You had to have a VPN. I didn't know what a VPN was. I was like, what the fuck is a VPN? You couldn't get, what I mean? So that disconnect was probably my hardest challenge, because I thought that I would still be in touch with people from back in the States, and that didn't happen. I'm in a whole different world. They can't even get a hold of me. They can't even have a conversation with me. You got to have a good VPN, to get in touch with people and have a conversation. So that was the biggest challenge, was disconnecting and not having that support system. But I had realized that once SoulCycle was gone, everybody in that part of my life was gone. That was it. And that just made room for everybody else that I met on this journey. Like some relationships end, and it's like, okay, it's okay, because you're gonna meet so many people, and I've met so many people on this journey. It's like it's great.
So look, guys. So now, for those of you here, thank you, my brother. For those of you here, now is the question time. And so if you have a question, just put your hand up. Remember, we say every week, but it's very important, right? So what we're created here is like a collective intelligence, right? A collective energy. So if you have an idea of a question in your mind, someone else has it as well. So sometimes we think our question's a bit dumb, a bit silly. They've already said that before. Maybe I wasn't listening. None of that really matters. Just ask your question, because if you have the courage to ask your question, there's somebody else who you're also helping by doing so. So don't just feel like, I can't answer that question. It's too silly.
Ask the question.
Ask the question, damn it. Ask it. So Mason, we'll pass the microphone over to you. And before it gets to Mason, so just in case you're tuning by Instagram Live, so you're watching SpeakuP Monday, the award-winning SpeakuP Monday, woohoo, for motivation. Yes, people, motivation. And so we're talking to Brother String, who is an amazing individual. I don't know how to even describe you. SoulCycle legend comes up, right? Humanitarian in a way, a community builder, nurturer, creator, and just an awesome, spectacular human being.
Thanks, my brother.
Is how I'll describe you. So now we're on the question time. This is where you can come to Tropical Nomad and join us as a studio audience, and you get a chance to hang out with some really cool people and ask your question and really contribute to the vibe that's being created here. So you can do that too every Monday, 6:30 at Tropical Nomad. Itchy, Bella, Guzman, and the team, incredible people. And so now on to questions, and we've got a question from my brother. Feel free.
So you said that you don't have any social media. I think everybody needs to see you. You got your story, you got the comedy factor, and just your whole story and just you. Do you not feel that social media might help you kind of bridge that gap and start building that community through using that platform?
I mean, I've always felt like social media there was no purpose. I was doing it, and I never felt I felt like it was taking too much time away from what I was doing, to be honest. I've changed it so many different times. I've compared it to so many different pages that it just, when SoulCycle was done, I wiped everything off from SoulCycle because I was angry at what had happened with that. And then I was like, okay, I'm going into this different journey, and I'm showing people that I'm in China, and then I was in Dubai, and then I changed it into this whole yoga thing, but it never really served me any purpose. So when it was gone, it was like, okay, I'm okay with that. So I think all these different things are good, but I'm at this place in my life where I'm really enjoying not having the world see all my stuff, right? Not know all my business. Like, people here know my business, and if people that have kept in touch with me want to know my business, they can just WhatsApp me. I don't feel like I'm missing out on having it. Now later on, when it has a purpose, if I have a business, which I want to do here, I want to do something big here, then it will be about the business, but it won't be about me.
Yeah, that was my next question. What's next?
Oh, I got a lot of stuff. I'm just so excited about the future. I know that I'm here for a reason, and I know that I see what I imagine myself doing is doing something that's very, SoulCycle / urban music experience. Everything that I've come across, everything that's touched my soul, is what I see Canggu needs. Right, and what I want to do is be able to give it back to the community, right? So me coming from a SoulCycle background, I want to be able to teach these kids, because there's so much talent out there with these kids. I want to teach them how to do something that I was given, right? Whether it be an instructor, knowing how to put the playlist, knowing how to be this person and motivate people. But I also want to have a place that's just vibing all the time. You come in, you hearing Tupac, Biggie, Nas, you hearing, Dead Prez, you hearing artists, all these legends. You're going into a workplace and it's that and more. It's fitness. It's all those different things that I come from.
What comes up, great, thanks for the question, Mason, awesome. What comes up, remember, any more questions, put your hand up, guys, feel free. So yeah, Bhavna, cool. So what comes up is that, you focus on the light, I love that, but what about when stuff happens, so something like anger, so when was the last time you got angry, and how did you deal with it?
That's a good question. Well, I was angry. The last time I was angry was when my sister passed away. And then I was angry again after that when my mother went to prison for the first time. When my sister passed away, I was so, not angry, but I was disappointed because she had so much to give, but she just kind of just gave up. And you're leaving my niece at the time, who was 19, and my sister was just like, fuck it. She lost everything. She got sick, but before that even happened, the depression and the anxiety and these other things that were going, and not paying attention to my niece. My niece spent her high school career was, she had to raise herself. And I was like, yo, but what are you doing? Because Darian needs you, right? I can't be there. I'm in a foreign country. So I was upset when she passed away, but then I was upset when my mother went to prison, of course, because once she got out of prison, that was a whole nother thing. It was like the emails that I was getting every day about, you motherfucker, and you guys put me in jail, and da-da-da-da-da. It was like I had to really disconnect. And coming to Bali, coming to Ubud, I had to really, really, really find forgiveness in both of those situations. Because if I can't find forgiveness in all these, it was not only all the stuff that my mother being in prison, but all from childhood stuff, my father issues. I had to really kind of be like, okay, they gave me the best gift. They gave me the gift of life, so I'm good. So whatever you want to call me, if you're not in my story, that's fine. That's your story. But I think that was the last time that I was angry, but I don't really get angry that much. Yeah, no, I get frustrated.
You don't strike me as that. And the last follow-up question on that one, because this thing about guilt, right, is like an anchor, right? The way I see it is like guilt is like an anchor, and it's in the water. You've got a beautiful boat, and you want to sail over here to Madagascar or wherever you're going. I don't know why Madagascar, anyway. Madagascar, there you go. We're going to Madagascar, everybody. And this anchor is tying you back, and it's holding you down. And this thing about guilt, if we don't learn to forgive ourselves, right, then it's something that is that weighs. So from what it sounds like to me, you were saying that your sister, you were angry at her for not giving your niece a chance, or at that time the guidance that she needed. You're angry at your mom for different reasons, right? But it's reverting to the same thing. So was there any guilt that you held from there? If there was, how did you let it go?
Yeah, I didn't get to attend my sister's funeral. I didn't go for the reason I didn't go because my mother was running the whole show, and I was in China, so I didn't get to say goodbye to her. But I really said goodbye to her in 2016 when I saw my niece's graduation, because she was a mess. She was a mess. She wasn't taking care of herself, you know. Yeah, I mean, you just have to take the situation and just say, oh, you know, I'm sorry that I didn't have the conversation that I would have had or said goodbye to you, but that's just life. Sometimes we don't get to have those conversations, right? You kind of just do the best you can. I did the best I could with my sister, you know, and I had to let it go because I had to come first. And I knew that I had to take care of myself. Even with my mother, I had to I tried to always, you know, find some kind of forgiveness and relationship with that, but that's a fight that I can't fight that battle because she's in her own way of thinking. So it always comes back to just, you know, yeah, I mean, just forgiving the situation, I guess.
You know, what it sounds like to me, and then we're going to go to you, Bhavna. What it sounds like to me is that, you know, you reconciled it by, you know, and I love this, and I'm the same way.
Accepting,
accepting it, but also realizing this is the true, see, me, not me, but this show is always about empathy, right? And empathy is not sympathy. Empathy is basically saying, look, if I had the life and the upbringing and the circumstances around me that my mom had, that my sister had, that my dad had, that my friends had, right? So they're being programmed from a very young age, 0 to 7, call it whatever you want, theta brainwave state, we all know the stuff, so I won't repeat it. But at the end of the day, it's like if I was in their position, I would do exactly the same thing. I wouldn't know any different. And I'm trying the best with what I have, with what I know at that moment. But it wasn't enough to have a different result. So then if I get to that point with her or him or them or myself, then I get to a point where I can now forgive and say, you know what, they tried the best they could with what they had. I tried the best I could with what I knew.
Absolutely.
At that point, that's all I knew. I didn't know
and everybody has their story, you know. Everybody has their story. My dad has his story. That's his story, you know. My sister had her story. That's her journey, you know. That's my mother's story. She's now in a mental facility. That's her story, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna fault her for. It would have been nice to have a mother be like, yo, you know, son, I love you, but I didn't have that, you know what I mean? It's fine. It's the way it is, and it brought me to the person that I am because of it. Yeah. Hi, girl.
Okay, so this is a question I've asked several of the guests on.
I know this question. I know this question.
But I guess I can probably guess, but I think kind of taking away from who you are, our interactions, there's just a level of grit meets empathy and compassion sprinkled with humor. So I think I could predict what it would be, but I'd like to hear from you. If you had to bottle yourself up and sell it, and everyone could drink that string juice and move through life the way you do, what would the top 3 ingredients be?
Oh, okay, that's good. Light, love, laughter. That's it.
I love it.
That's it. I love that question.
Yeah, I love the answer because everybody in this room, great question, Sister Bhavna, you know, everybody in this room feels why that's true. Everyone watching this feels why that's true, you know. And by the way, I'm going to put her on the spot. Not you. We've done that a little bit.
Okay.
So, Sister Bhavna over here. Yeah, you got it. So, as you know, right, so Speak Up Monday, you know, it's not called Robert Monday. It's called Speak Up Monday, right? And the idea behind it is it carries a theme. It carries a footprint. It carries an identity. And the identity is, you know, people inspire people. And Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, which is, you know, unity and diversity, right? So these are the 2 things. So whoever's here or whatever's going on, this is the DNA of what comes up, you know? Now, I've been talking to Bhavna because at some point we're up to this is number 126, so it's almost been 2.5 years every Monday, right? And so what's going to happen at some point in the nearish future is that we're going to have other people coming on board who are going to be asking the questions, right? And one of them, because we obviously need a woman, right? I've got a woman here going like, sure do, Robbie. I don't know how to tell you this, but sure do, right? So Bhavna, I reckon, is going to make an excellent contribution.
Absolutely.
You know, like to what we have kind of going on. So expect more questions like that. Anyway, that's sometime in the future, right? So this is coming soon to a channel near you. So now, is there anything that anyone else would like to ask or wants to say, or maybe share a comment? Yes, my sister, please.
Absolutely. I love that question too. So I'm so glad to hear we're going to have more of that. Because it's so true. When you meet String from the very beginning, just the essence of who he is those things. So you walk it, as that song say, walk it like I talk it. Like you walk it like you talk it, right?
That's my jam.
Exactly, right? So I think about the aspect of you as a community builder. And this has kind of been a little frustration of me. A lot of people call themselves communities. And I'm like, this is not community. But everybody has a different definition of that, right? So what is your understanding of community, and how does that guide the communities that you've created? Because you've been a part of many.
Yes.
And I get to see the ones that you're creating here in Bali. And so what does that mean? What does community mean to you? And how does it drive how you continue to build them?
Well, first of all, I mean, community is unity. It's something that I've always just, it's like you said, it's the essence of me. You know, I just always feel like people are always searching for community. Always. And from the time I was a kid in the lunchroom, like the lunchtime was my favorite time of the day, right? Just to get people together. What lunch you got? Second lunch, first lunch, what you got? What table we sitting at? Y'all meet me in the back by the lockers. That's where we gonna sit. That's our table for the whole year. You know what I mean? That was for the whole year, right? Oh yeah, and then come to until I was in the lunch, then I got fired from that. Anyway, I was always about making people a part of something, right? And it's just, people are always searching for community. And I think that's the one thing where people are winning as far as businesses, because they've built this community aspect. The people who ain't winning are the ones who don't even have community behind them. If you don't have that foundation, you have nothing. You're losing. Even at a time right now, when there's so many people here, you got teachers here talking about, there's no one taking my class, because you're not out there in the community promoting your class. It's not about the studio, it's about you. You're not winning. You got to get out there and say, I'm gonna go to this event. It takes us. It's not even that hard. It's easy. It's so easy.
And that says a lot, because as going back to what the brother said, you don't have social media, but your classes are packed, and people are always asking, begging, like, when is the next one? When is the next one? He's like, I'm coming. Give me a second, right? So that speaks to, like, there's something there that they're getting from it.
Yeah.
There's a benefit that's, tangible. So can I ask my other question?
Of course.
Okay. So the other question as well is, what makes your heart smile, and what makes your soul cry, and how do those answers guide your life?
What makes my heart smile? What makes my heart smile? Okay, what makes my heart smile is laughter. I love laughter. That always makes my heart smile. What makes my heart, what was it? My soul cry? Pain. Yeah, when someone's in pain. And what's the other one?
How does your answer to those guide, your life?
How do those guide my life? Well, I mean, laughter's always my thing. I mean, I'm laughing at something every day, even if it's myself. I'm always finding something that's funny, right? And taking a moment just to embrace that. Like, I fell off the scooter for no reason a couple weeks ago. I was going to a workout, and I went to park the scooter, and I don't know what I was doing, but I tried to back it up, and I fell over. And I was like, you idiot. But it was so funny. I was like, look at you on the scooter. You can't even back it up. You know what I mean? So I'm always finding something, even if I don't see something, I'm always I'm embracing my own laughter. It's important to laugh at your stuff. It's important to laugh at yourself. You slip and fall. Oh, look at you. You can't even walk. Use your core. You know what I mean? I'm always having a conversation with myself and just embracing that. You know? I mean, come on. We're not perfect. You know? Yeah. Does that answer your question? Okay.
I just love I love you, man.
I love you too, brother.
and thank you so much for the questions, right? Because again, this is it's collective, right? It's all of us. We're all here, and what I love about community is that we get to share ourselves and we get to see ourselves in one another. And I was talking to, so there's, I'm coaching a few teams at the moment. Okay, one is about bullying, and the other one is about speaking. So we're about to do this public speaking course. And one of the things, that she's afraid of is something that we're all afraid of, and that's each other. Right, so we're afraid of one another. It's like, what do you mean, afraid of one another? Okay, this is what I mean. So if I asked you for 3 minutes, right, to sit down in front of someone who you don't know, or someone that you know, actually doesn't make a difference, this far away, and for 3 minutes stare at each other's eyes without looking away. Now you can blink when you need to, but don't look away. And for 3 minutes, like I've done it for 5 and 10 minutes. It's real freaky. So
it's not freaky when you live in China.
No, China.
I live in China, so I won this. You already listen. I spent a year and a half in China, the only black person in the metro. So I had Chinese people looking at me the whole entire time. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna win this. I got this. Come on. I'm looking at your fucked up teeth. I see your fucked up teeth. I'm gonna keep looking at your eyes. I'm not even gonna look at your mouth, even though your teeth is fucked up. I'm gonna look at you this whole way till we get to Jintendi. Till we get to Jintendi, I'm gonna still look at you. So I got this already.
I love it. So for most people, not this guy. But for most people, we have this thing about staring at other people, especially when
it's called eye gazing.
There you go.
Yeah.
So there you go, 3, 5, 10 minutes, and you're looking at this person in the eye, and there's maybe 3 or 4 stages that you might go through. The first one is giggling, because it's uncomfortable, so you kind of well, we all do it, right? And then the next stage you kind of get into is like a bit weird. Like, you see things going on, and then what comes in is judgment. Or they're looking at me like this, or they're looking at my messed up teeth. These poor guys are probably trying to go, my teeth are messed up. That guy's string, looking at my teeth, when you looking at my eyes. Right? So what happens is that, so the second thing is that we get this judgment paralysis, or we think that this other person is judging us. And then the third step is that what happens then is that we start to see their face change, which becomes a bit weird now. And it's like you've got these past lives flashing before your eyes, and you're looking at their eyes, and then you see they've got a beard. I'm not looking at the beard, I'm looking at your eyes all the time. But I can just see things moving and changing, and then you get beyond that, and then you realize, that what you're looking at is yourself. Right, so all these fears and emotions that come up for you are also present with the other person too. So then when you realize this at a core level, then you stop being afraid of other people. And this is part of what makes you a great public speaker in certain situations and circumstances, right? So it's really interesting, because with community, it's really powerful, because then you get to leverage each other, and you get to leverage each other's gifts and skills. And if you can sink into that level of vulnerability, then amazing things come out the other end that perhaps you're not even thinking about, or even would imagine going in. So it's powerful. And little plug. So tomorrow, which is 5:30 GMT plus 8. So I'm doing 5:30 a free knowledge share about I call it the tribe building formula. The tribe building formula. So if you're interested in this, watch that tomorrow. There's lots of stuff that I'm laying down, and it's been many years of building communities, large and small, and all the rest of that. So that would be great to watch if that interests you in some way. Now, do we have any more questions, follow-up questions? Good.
So one of the things a lot of people struggle with is bringing all of who they are to the table, right? And so that conversation of authenticity, and speaking, going back to your yoga group, you didn't put a beautiful image of yoga or, somebody in pose. It says face down, ass up. And I knew right away, like, these are my people. So like, you bring all of you to the table. So what is your advice to listeners and those who may want to know, like, how do I get past that fear of, will I be accepted, and what do I do? So, because you have a great personality and it's big, right? So you take up space, which is a great thing. Like, I think about Rochelle with that, right?
Yeah.
So what gives you permission or demand of doing that?
Beautiful question.
That's a good question. I mean, I've always been this person who just I didn't give 0 fucks about nothing. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, people, even in high school, I just didn't care about what you said about me, or if I said something, I just said it like it is. And I think that's the one thing, is like, you can't really worry about what people are saying about you, or judging you. Only one person is judging you, and that's God. That's it. It's easy, right? It's easy. Don't give zero fucks about what people say about you. At the end of the day, it's you, you know, and you have another day to do you.
How does a person do that? So if a person is starting off from scratch, they haven't had your background or understanding or worldview,
Okay.
how can they get to that?
Just putting yourself out there. That's it. Just putting yourself out there. I think my journey, if I saw something, I just did it. The comedy, I did it. I was like, if I saw something, I'm like, I'm going to do that. Just putting yourself out there. That's it. That's the first step.
Cool. So guys, are there any more questions? Yeah, you good? All right. So we're gonna wrap it up pretty soon. So, Brother String, as you know, we have in a few minutes' time. You have the mic, my brother, which is if there's anything that you feel like you want to share, maybe it's reinforcing something, maybe something completely new or different, right? Feel free to share it. Okay. And then after that, I'll give you a hug.
Okay.
Hug, and then we'll finish up. But for those of you watching here, so tomorrow morning, remember we have three streams a week, all different. So this one is called Destination Indonesia, and this is Monday, 6:30 GMT +8 Bali time, Singapore time, same thing, and that's here in Tropical Nomad. Tomorrow morning, Tuesday, 7 a.m., which is again Bali time, or if you're in the States, West Coast, that's 4 o'clock West Coast on Monday. It gets a bit crazy in your head, right? And that one's on Clubhouse. Tomorrow is Jason Scott Thompson, and we're talking about, trauma to triumph, the circle vibration. Trauma to triumph, the circle vibration. Be a really interesting topic to discuss. That's tomorrow, 7 a.m. And then on Wednesday, we have a Star Wars actress who I've already interviewed on Clubhouse called Tasia Valencia, who is an amazing human being. She's an Emmy Award winner. She's also a TEDx speaker. Just an amazing person, like a beautiful soul. She's got this group called Give Great Voice, and she's the inspirator and the person behind it. And again, like I've said it 3 times, she's an incredible human being. So that's Wednesday. What time is that? That's 8 a.m. Whew, early, 8 a.m. And that's Bali time. But that will be on the group of Speak Up Monday group. It will be on my Instagram and also YouTube. If you miss it or don't get up at that time, you're going to see it there, right? So that's the 3 streams for this week. Now, I always love to thank Tropical Nomad, Brother Itchy, Sister Bella, and Brother Guzman for just making it look
Tropical
good.
Nomad. Tropical Nomad.
Yeah, round of applause, one for Tropical Nomad, definitely. Round of applause. Yeah, And there's a lot that we're doing outside of this for Bali and building communities and building networks, and there's always about inspiring humanity, actually. So if you haven't been here before, check it out. It's amazing. And look, finally, penultimately, I want to thank the guests, the audience. This is the guest, the audience who come every week. And look, 6:30, come a bit earlier, 6:15, and just check it out. You will see one that resonates with you. That's the one you come to, right? And Speak Up Monday group on Facebook. So go to that group, join it. And there's a YouTube that you can find, Robert Ian Bonnick /Speak Up Mondays, or just search Speak Up Monday, you'll see it there. And yeah, so come. Like, if this is resonating with you, share it, enjoy it, be part of it. If you want to be a guest, we got Brother Mason in the audience, and there's a few other people here that will be guests soon coming up. If you want to be a guest, just reach out, right? Reach out, because if you watch this and it's vibing with you, then there's a reason why you're being called, right? And again, this is about inspiring humanity. This is what this is all about, and we do that through sharing our story in a deep dive way. This is not rehearsed or scripted or anything. We had like 2 minutes before having a chat about something. So it's not like your typical interview of very staged and set up, and I give you the questions before you come so you know what you're going to say. No, nothing. It's all seat of your pants or in the flow, right? Conversation of 2 people getting to know one another, and out of that comes people inspire people. And that Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, which is unity in diversity. So without further ado, my brother String, I want to thank you for being
Thanks, my brother.
the stand-up brother.
Thank you for having me.
The stand-up brother that you are,
Thank you.
and acknowledge you, man, for your contribution to this and to everyone you've touched, man. And it's been a lot of people.
Yeah.
So over to you to see us out. Thanks, brother.
Okay, I just want to say, well, I always tell people this. I'm always saying that life is very uncomfortable, right? It's not supposed to be comfortable. If it gets too comfortable, then that means it's just easy. And I always tell people back home that there's this shortcut, and it's fucked up, right? It's got potholes, it's got dips, it's got peaks, it's all these different things here. But you got to keep going. That's it. Keep going, right? It's not supposed to be comfortable. Life is not comfortable. And, take it as it is. You're here for a reason. God has a plan for you. And as long as you doing right by him and having those conversations, real talk with him, he got you. So face down, ass up. Keep going.